But leading up to the fight, it was all about really Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney. Leading up to the fight,
how come the doctors fucking let him fucking fight? The commission, the doctors from the commission, they let him fight. And you heard what the doctor said. There was no way they could not hear that shit in his lungs. No fucking way. It was a setup, bro. They fucking let this kid go in there and lose his life because he could have lost his life, and I would have fucking sued the shit out of those motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Because they gotta stop that shit. Because the fight was too big to stop. No, bro, you don't do that to an athlete, bro. It's like we're fucking meat now, bro. Like they don't care about us. You know, the specialist from Bellevue Hospital said that there's no way. The doctors from the commission, the doctors before the fight, they didn't hear that. They didn't hear his fucking lungs. No way.
But also, there's always gonna be some accountability.
There was nothing we could do about it, and I'm not putting fucking excuses, bro. You know what I'm saying? But that boy will never fucking beat my son, and he didn't even beat us because my son had the best knockdown. That motherfucker looked hurt like a motherfucker. We never looked hurt in the fight. You know, my son just looked, you know, out of gas. And that's because of his lungs, you know. So we're coming back at 140. We fighting Zepeda next, hopefully. Get that fight. And that's going to be a great fight for us because I know that Josh Taylor ain't going to want to fight us. So we got to make it a mandatory. So the only option that I have right now, you know, is Zepeda. Even though, you know, they fucked us with that decision. You know, we still strong. You know, I said it all the time. You know, the only way that anybody could beat us is by health. I always said that every time. You know, and because I have an asthmatic kid, you know, and this happened to him actually when he was 10 years old. You know, we was fighting nationals in the amateurs, and he won the fight, but he fought 3 rounds, bro, without air, and he collapsed at the end of the fight. He collapsed in the corner. He got an outstanding ovation because the paramedics had to come in and, you know, give him some air, and they took him to the ambulance. He was sick for almost 10 days, bro. Like he wasn't coming back because of his oxygen levels. So I almost lost him. You know, I think that happened for a reason. I think that made him strong. You know, because I was going to lose him. They were just going to disconnect him because his oxygen levels were like, they're supposed to be like somewhere around 98 or something, and he was like at 94, 95, and it was not coming up, and he was in the ICU. The same scenario happened right after the fight.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that how serious it was until he was in the hospital, and they told me that, you know, they actually gave him 50-50 chances of survival. And when they told me that shit, I was at the hotel. My wife went over there because they don't allow nobody in, but they allowed my wife in. And when they told me that, I ran to the hospital and I said, fuck it, I got to see my son. And I almost got into a big fight with everybody there. And they allowed me to get in. And man, I was there for like 4 days just fucking crying, bro, you know. Because not only did they took the fight from us, you know, this kid fought the way he fought. You know, we don't put excuses. You know, he fought with a fractured elbow. We didn't say nothing about that. I mean, my son has fought with a broken hand when we beat William Silva for 7 rounds. You know, his bones were popping up. So we don't put excuses on that, you know, because every boxer doesn't go in there 100. You always have fucking fractures. You always, you know what I'm saying? You always not 100, but you know, when you have a hole in your fucking lung and a hole in your throat because you're trying to fucking hydrate back because you know my son has been at 135 for fucking 8 years. I should have let go of those belts right after Lomachenko, man.
All right, people. Of course, that was Teofimo Lopez Sr. Look, it's self-explanatory, everything he just said. And first off, they say they won the fight. Both of them. They were robbed. He also said that it was a setup. We like meat, man. They don't care about us. It was a setup, and okay. And he said he makes no excuses, and he sat here and gave nothing but excuses. So reality, okay, I have people in my family that's asthmatic. I know people that's asthmatic. Things happen, and I also know people that have been in hospitals and doctors was like very, very unprofessional and handled things wrong. I even know someone that was given the wrong medication and was killed. Okay. But you see, you guys couldn't see the interview, his face, but he's looking at him. What the look on his face is like, the hell are you talking about? Look, man, this video was from like 2 weeks ago. And you just sat here and said the only way anybody can beat y'all is due to health, okay? And you said, Josh Taylor's not going to want to fight you, so the only option y'all have right now is Zepeda, okay? When you are full of excuses, it turns people off, okay? You were not undisputed, which is one of the false things that people keep saying. So it's like, yeah, undisputed versus undisputed. No, you were not undisputed, and you lost the fight. So all of this talk, he's like, he think, Cambosis think he beat somebody. Oh, he ain't beat my son. Bro, the most you should have said is, look, he's asthmatic. Things happen. He wasn't 100% in the fight. And pretty much left it at that. But that wasn't the reason for the interview. Okay. Basically, the reason for the interview, at least on Teofimo Sr.'s behalf, was to make the excuses as to why. Not only are you saying that, Cambosis, really lost the fight, but you're saying that you were set up. By who? By who? And basically, the simple fact that they're saying that the specialist is saying there's no way that they could notice that in his lungs. Okay, but at the same time, you just gave a story and said that your son, this happened to him when he was a kid. So you guys know, you're aware that he's asthmatic. So, you could have even looked more into it. Teofimo himself, because if you don't feel 100%, you're going to know that. And if Teofimo didn't feel 100%, you're going to tell me that he wouldn't even tell it to you? And then, for people, oh, but he ain't wanting to call the fight off because he's a warrior. Look, nobody's knocking Teofimo as a fighter, but let's just be real, man. It's been a while now. And y'all still crying about the decision. The thing is, you're going to 140. You've done nothing at 140. Now, we know certain fighters went to a different weight class and got elevated, like Usyk. Certain fighters, they unified, went to another weight class and was, put in a high position, period, without even if they, wasn't mandatory. But you were not undisputed, first of all. Josh Taylor is undisputed. WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, not no bullshit franchise championship. You were not undisputed. Okay? Not to mention, when you're saying I knew I should have sent him to 140 after the what you call Lomachenko fight. Well then, like the guy said, at some point has to be some accountability. And it was also editing through the video, okay? So basically, here's the deal. If you know that your son is asthmatic and that weight loss, cutting weight like that can affect him physically with the agitated asthma, then why did you keep him there? You're blaming the doctors, but you yourself and Teofimo himself, who's a grown man who knows that he has a health issue. You worried about him dying. Well, if he know that he didn't feel 100%, was he worried about himself dying? I mean, I'm just saying, like, that just makes no sense, man. Like, he sat here, he's pointing the finger, he's blaming. Look, that's T.O.'s dad. He loved his son. I get it. And he loved his father. But this guy is making both of them look like jackasses. Every time Senior speaks, I'm like, man, this guy doesn't really realize how ignorant he make himself look. and how ignorant he make his son look, because his son was just sitting there and kind of smirk and smile when his father talked that crazy shit. But like, every time somebody say, I ain't gonna make no excuses, and then you already made 20 before you even said that, then made 20 more after that. So you did make nothing but excuses. Y'all decided to move on, go to 140, leave that shit behind you. Everybody saw the photo of Teofimo sitting there with the respirator on, but y'all clowned Lomachenko for laying there with his shoulder patch. So Lomachenko can do the same thing and say, Kambosos can do the same thing and say, stop making excuses, man. I just beat you. Plain and simple. And it's like when a guy loses, he can't just say he lost. Gary Russell just lost the other day, and he's saying he won the fight. And I commend him for fighting with the one arm. But no, you didn't win the fight. In my opinion, you lost the fight. But I give you, I tip my hat for you, because you could have, hey, I only got one arm. But you didn't. So, but at the end of the day, Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez. Okay, and Teofimo Lopez himself claimed he won the fight. Well, if you feel like you won the fight, just say you got robbed. Why even talk about the asthma situation? Oh, guess what? Because he be the guy that pretty much has a hole in his, what did he say? Okay, in his lungs and in his throat. Okay, so then you guys need to be more responsible, okay, and more careful about the steps that you're making, because you know that you have a problem. So not just the doctors, and don't get me wrong, if the doctors was to overlook something like that, or however, if they let's say they knew but didn't say anything, well, yeah, they'd be wrong for that, and you could sue them for that. In fact, why don't you? If the specialist told you there's no way that they couldn't understand, no, why don't you? Why don't you sue them? So at the end of the day, man, people can't just take their L and just move on, man. You're still talking about it with the same emotion and acting as if it's going to change anything. I mean, Teofimo Lopez fans or the fanboys can sit up and go, oh, I knew something was wrong. Yeah, see? Yeah, that's the only reason Kambosos won. Excuses, excuses, excuses. We do know Gary Russell was legit hurt in the fight. We know that. It's not an excuse. You've seen him. He was one-handed and only used one hand for maybe the fourth or fifth round on. He wouldn't even throw a jab anymore. Just kept throwing it the straight left hand. Why would you even get on the camera and bring this up? What was the purpose of this video? What's going to change? Your son was never undisputed. He was never undisputed. He's a belt short. But he was carrying on like he was. And remember, all this talk, we're going to go up and fight Josh Taylor. They was talking like it was signed, sealed, and delivered. But now you realize you've been knocked off your perch. So you can't come in with that arrogance with all that. You can't go demanding nothing. You got to earn your spot just like everybody else. So no, Teofimo, you fought in a small Madison Square Garden, that little ballroom, whatever they call it. You didn't fight in the main arena. You're not going to come in there and leapfrog over, Regis Prograis and, or Ramirez and all these guys that's been at 140 all this time putting in work. And just because you held 3 titles, you wasn't undisputed, but regardless, you just leapfrog up into a title shot. Like this is some mega fight, especially. How do you, first off, he said, we know Josh Taylor's not going to want to fight. You come off of a loss, and that's supposed to warrant you having a title fight? No, brother, you got to work your way up. You don't just jump in there because your ego tells you I deserve a title shot with Josh Taylor. What did you do at 140? I mean, for people to say, oh, it'd be a good fight. Okay, cool. Had you beat Kambosos, it would make more sense. But you lost. And your father, like you just said, the only way somebody could beat us is health issues. Okay, so I guess if Josh Taylor, knocks Teofimo out or just flat out beats him, oh, it was his lungs again. Come on with the excuses, man. Come on with like all that anger, all that cursing and talking loud and motherfuckers and I was about to fight every motherfucker. All that don't mean nothing and it don't change nothing, man. So when I watched this, I said, damn, I started out to make a video about it. Then I'm like, nah, I'm gonna make a video. Because it's like this is the era we in now. Everybody has a shitty attitude and can't just say, you know what, he got me. I get him. Holyfield had a hole in his heart. Holyfield fought with the flu. You know, just like you said, fighters always fight injured. But at the same time, you know, Holyfield didn't dwell on it, man. He just moved on. Went on. Let's go. Let's go. I know it's not just me. I wouldn't give a shit if it was. But I know it's not just me. Teofimo Lopez Sr., when he talks, man, it's like, I get that cringe feeling. You know? And y'all fighters need to stop with all this, you know, canceling fights, then coming back acting like, you know, somebody ran from you. Well, I guess, what's next? Yo, Netflix got a special coming up. So, you know, y'all just want y'all normal step away so I can watch that whole series, you know, so it don't interrupt my training and I'll be back, you know, for this fight, you know, whatever. Anyways, y'all heard it from Teofimo Lopez Sr. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch y'all on the next video.